Because this craziness, this sickness in this country now is shot through the whole society. You know, people in law enforcement have also succumbed to right-wing extremism and white nationalism. Again, what this points up is how pervasive and vast a problem this is, and we will be dealing with it for a long time.
Jills, we're such fucking shameless hacks. Alright, who likes Metallica? Who likes when people dedicate Metallica songs to Dimebag Darrell? We're big fans of Dimebag's work, so this is One by Metallica. Sing along with the other song. Oh,
so young back then, so full of opportunities, so much life ahead of us. And now we're all old and jaded. Hi, everybody. Welcome to this super uplifting Big Ugly Gym chat, yammering with the masses, whatever I want to call it. I hope everyone's doing well. I am. I've actually had a interesting week. I have seasonal allergies that are absolutely fucking brutal. And they have been in top fucking gear. Which is awesome because we're in the middle of a pandemic where people are coughing and sniffling. And that's a thing that people don't want to be around when you're... It's pretty fucking gross. So it's been a fun week. My kids have had to stay home from school because you look like you got COVID. You don't have COVID. We're all double vaxxed. For those that are going, my youngest, who was the first to develop the allergy symptoms, has gone for a COVID test yesterday. I really genuinely, we don't have COVID. But on the off chance, it's always better safe than sorry. But I don't think that's a thing, even remotely a thing. Yeah. Other than that, it's been a decent enough week. I had yesterday off. I had an earned day off from work, so I spent that in the traditional fashion, doing sweet fuck all, and I nailed doing sweet fuck all. I got some mad skills there. I've been keeping my eyes on the politicking. I actually had a lady come to my door today, and she was campaigning for Heather McRae, who is running for municipal council in my neighborhood. I explained that while I like what Ms. McRae stands for, would not be casting my vote that way. I am voting for someone, I can't remember her first name for the life of me because I'm on the spot, but North Pagan is the last name, an Indigenous woman who is very progressive and very awesome, and I want to support. So that's where I'm going. But we had a really short but decent chat about it, and she asked, like, do I know who I'm going to vote for in terms of the mayoral race? And I was like, yeah, probably going to end up voting for Jyoti Gariwal, but I'm not good with that because I feel like, oh, hey, thing just happened. My phone made it vibrate. Oh, hey, everyone, Hassan is live, just in case anyone was curious. I don't know. I should probably not have that sitting on my table. I have a sweet new table right there. It is green and gorgeous, and it is a gift from my buddy Sean. So Sean's probably not watching, but if you are, thank you, Sean. I love my table. It's pretty rad. And I hope you're doing well, my friend. All together, it's been a fun little burst of time. The world has been continuing on in its usual wackadoo ways. I don't know why the world feels that it's the right answer to just be cuckoo nuts, but it is. So that's where we're at. That's the world we live in now. And who am I to judge? Who am I to judge? So all things considered, I can't complain. I had a band practice this week, even though we had rules. We did do a band practice. We have a gig coming up. I don't think the gig has officially been released, but it will be a fundraiser for my good friends at the Bear Climb Patrol. So very stoked to be a part of that, and hopefully bring in some of that sweet green tender money goo to them, because they do the good work and they deserve all the support. But when on the, I don't even remember if it was this week that the rules changed yet again. The mandates are different, and there's a lot open to interpretation about the mandates right now, which is unsurprising because governments are never really good at what you call clarity. But it was a thing. Sorry, I thought it was related. It was not. Yeah, so going through Well, fuck, man, my brain just we trying to understand, like, are we allowed to jam? And what we came down to was that the band is ostensibly a business, and we are all doubly vaccinated. In fact, one of our members is going for his third vax because he's immunocompromised, and that seems, a thing that makes it kind of okayer. So hopefully, I'm trying to get my TV to behave. Normally I use it as like my, it's not gonna work. I'm just gonna. Oh, hey, it is working now! Yay! I use my TV as like an extra monitor so I can see what I'm doing, and it's working. I was not expecting that because it kept not working. I have a Chromecast, and Chromecast can be, how you say, challenging. Anyways, we talked about it, and we were like, we are a business. We have a upcoming thing coming up. We have to practice for. Fuck it. We'll just do the whole being in a band thing, and we'll play a jam. And nobody called the police, so I guess we're okay. Oh, I hear me in that thing. Give me 1 sec. I'm just going to turn the volume off on the TV. That was dumb of me. Oh, well. I can be dumb. Volume down. It was sneaky. It was like, the volume was like 4 out of like a billion. So it was just enough that when I was quiet, I was like, hey, that's me talking in the background. And only I'm not talking in the foreground. That's a problem. Yeah. So, what do you guys want to talk about today? I think we're probably, it's probably still just Jim is all alone. Look in here, I see, all by myself. All by myself. So that's okay. It's okay. I'm still good, people. Let's see. What things shall I talk about first? You know what? I know no one's watching, and this is almost a shame to do now, but Nicki Minaj, who I am by no means knowledgeable about in any kind of way, recently explained that her brothers, sisters, cousins, whatever, had the vax, and their testicles were problematic afterwards. And that made me think of a great film from days gone by called Johnny Dangerously. So we're going to just watch a clip of Johnny Dangerously that I think speaks directly to Ms. Minaj's concerns, and that's why I want to share it with you. So here we go.
Your testicles and you. Take a good look. These are the unlucky ones.
Tragic.
These unfortunate souls are suffering from ESS, enlarged scrotum syndrome.
It's a very real thing. I know you're thinking that I'm just making this up, but no, I assure you, Johnny told you.
For these poor devils, it's too late. But there is hope. Here at the Atlanta Genital Institute, teams of doctors are at work around the clock to cure this dreaded affliction. Hi, I'm Dr. Zillman, and I'd like to talk to you about your testes.
I'm curious to hear what you have to say about my testes, Dr. Zillman.
The human testicle is not unlike a balloon.
Ooh.
Sometimes it is empty. And sometimes it is full. And sometimes it can explode. Maybe this will help you understand. Just remember that your testicles, when treated with love and care, will give you years of maintenance-free service. But if abused, well, the inevitable conclusion.
No!
So next time, do the smart thing. Don't let anything come between your testicles and you. Thank you.
That was totally unnecessary, but it made me giggle, it made me chuckle. I was very much appreciating listening to the story of Ms. Minaj's concerns about vaccination. I'd like to say that I feel bad for Nicki Minaj and the way that the conversation went publicly, and that people were sort of mocking her for this take, but not at all. Not even a little tiny little bit. I'm not a fan of Nicki Minaj. I have nothing against Nicki Minaj. I just don't really. It's not my kind of stuff. I know I'm old and honky. Never really got into the Menage a trois, but you know, I've got nothing against Ms. Minaj. It just ain't my thing. But that was a dumb thing to do. I get it, because there's so much stupid out there. People are talking about like just the most ridiculous of shits when it comes to vaccines and mandates. I was watching a debate before this that Dylan Burns had, and all these people are, oh, it's the government is using business as the arm of the government now. And I'm like, no, they fucking aren't. This is just it's an empty, stupid argument, as they all seem to be. With the change in restrictions, though, I've had some thought in the last little while about the whole spiel and how things are going and what's going on, and I do find there's a certain amount, like I've seen some arguments that are actually pretty valid. People who have natural immunity is a good example. We don't know enough about natural immunity yet to really understand how long it lasts. We don't understand how long the vaccine lasts. Like there's legitimate scientific unknowns still. We don't know. We know that, in the beginning we started seeing that there were people who got sick twice with COVID. There's a potential for that to have been incorrect in terms of poor COVID testing results, which has been a problem. But it's also entirely possible that people can get sick more than once, but that it is highly unlikely. So it's when you talk about like vaccine mandates and saying that you must vaccinate, I think that there has to be a certain amount of openness to the idea that people who have been sick with COVID may not need to be vaccinated in order to have the same essential end result. And I don't know. I think the whole thing's kind of squirkly. Squirkly is never what we want, but squirkly is just sometimes what we get. So, that's like that. It's a thing. I genuinely don't. I've hit that point with the COVID where I'm like, don't know if I give a shit about anything anymore. Honestly, I just don't know. So, that's a thing. Hopefully, all of this becomes sensible and reasonable sometime, and we can all just sort of go back to being human to each other. At least that's the dream. We'll see how the dream pans out. I had other thoughts on this there. So let me talk a little bit about our new, in Alberta, our new lockdown measures. And lockdown. Because we have yet to have an actual real lockdown. Even what Australia did was far more locky-downy than what we've got, and that's okay. Our current measures, I'm confused about, because when I read it, what it sounds like, previously they had passed a thing that said that bars need to close or stop serving alcohol by 10, which means that they are closed by 11 because of the way that the liquor and gaming people have their rules. You can't just sit in a bar all night without any alcohol service, which affects live music, and which pisses me off because I believe there are necessary steps that need to be taken here, and I don't think that saying bars have to close at 10 is in any way going to have a demonstrable effect on COVID cases. I just can't imagine that. That said, if it is if it does have a demonstrable effect, great. but I can't really see a way that it would be a sizable, statistically significant impact. Because I think most of the people who are getting sick from schools, from gatherings, from workplaces, things like that, being on public transit, like the usual suspects. I still don't know of anyone who could feasibly argue that, bars are the problem. That said, bars are a potential problem, and certainly, like, it's not like, oh, you're in a bar, you couldn't possibly pass on the disease. It's more, well, you're in a bar, you're probably not gonna. You are negative? Negative COVID test. Like I said, knew it. Yeah, I'm genuinely unsurprised by this, because it's, we are all double vaxxed in the house, and this is the time of year when my seasonal allergies and my kids are showing the same joy, which is new for them, because they're, they lived in Kelowna most of their lives, and we have different goo in the air, I guess, that causes the horrors that I experience all the time. So this, to me, when I woke up feeling it, I was like, yeah, I got my seasonal allergies. Like, they're very obvious and very clear, but they're totally like, they could be COVID, they could be a cold, they could be a flu, all of these things. But I've just, like, every year, literally the day that I woke up feeling the worst in all of this, I was in my morning routine. I always check my Facebook memories and, gazed wistfully into the past history of me. And I was like, hey, I see, like, almost every year there's like, fuck, my allergies are crazy right now. Holy shit. My allergies are so bad that I will cough to the point where I am essentially dissociate, and I get a tremor in usually it's my left hand, but it can be any part of my body, but usually my left hand is kind of a given. And then that goes on for a while, and then all of a sudden I kind of come back to reality, and I'm like, oh, okay, we're here now. Cool. Which sounds a lot spookier than it is. I actually went to a neurologist as a result, because I was like, this can't be right. And the neurologist checked it out and was like, no, you're basically fine. And it turns out it's kind of a non-thing. I just, what happens is I cough so much that my system spikes adrenaline. And you know how you get shakes when you drink too much coffee, right? It's because you get a little bit of adrenaline in your system. And what happens is your muscles start to overcorrect, because your muscles are all like, there's these ones here and then these ones here, and they're in balance. And when you are, like, the stronger you are and the more slightly off balance those can become, it causes, like, nothing's in perfect balance. So you get a little bit of a twitch. It's the same thing, but I'm just, like, juicing with the sweet adrenaline. Probably should cut down on drinking the adrenochrome, but, whatever. Sometimes you just gotta have a glass of adrenochrome. Speaking of which, freshly squeezed from someone evil or something. I don't know. I'm kidding. It's coffee. I know you thought it was adrenochrome, but it was coffee. Yeah. So anyways, we brought in these new measures. The previous measures I talked about where bars had to close at 10. All of a sudden we get the new measures. Maybe I'll bring that up and we can look it over together. I'm not going to spend a huge, like, if you're like, oh boy, government website information for a province. I won't be like digging in deep to it or anything like that. So, but I just, the confusion is real, and I wanted to share the confusion. All right, so if we go and type in Alberta COVID restrictions, essentially what they did was they were like, hey, since COVID is really being problematic, like in Alberta, if you're not from here and you're watching this, we had, like yesterday, we had over 2,000 new cases. Our hospitals are now at the point where they're talking about, like, borrowing ventilators from the children's hospital, which doesn't have as heavy a drain on them right now. And we're talking about, like, we're getting to the point of, do we triage? Do we send people to another location for their, healthy goodnessing, that kind of stuff. So we came up with this thing, the restriction exemption program. This is the thing I'm talking about. So starting the 20th, which is in a couple of days, discretionary businesses and events must follow one of these two options. Either implement the restrictions exemption program requiring proof of vaccination or negative test results to continue operating as usual, or follow business capacity and operating restrictions outlined on the page below. So when I read this, I actually think that this means that bars can go back to normal, like where, serve until 2 a.m, provided that they are compliant with this restriction exemption program. And then the business requirements must continue to follow indoor mandatory masking requirements, but can operate without capacity or operating restrictions if they require people aged 12 or over to show one of the following: proof of vaccination, partial vaccination, 1 dose, accepted September 20th to October 25th if received 2 weeks before time of service, full vaccination, 2 doses required after October 25th. So essentially what I'm reading here is they're like, yeah, just we're doing business as usual, but only if you can prove that you have been vaccinated, or you have proof of a privately paid negative PCR or rapid test within 72 hours of service. Tests from AHS and Precision Labs are not allowed. Or documentation of a medical exemption. Note, I don't see the words religious exemption anywhere, because fuck it. That doesn't even, I don't care about religious exemptions. Medical exemptions, absolutely. The people who have allergies to things that are in vaccinations, people who have, like legitimate medical concerns. I get it. I do not, I don't want you to miss out on life because of your medical exemption. And in a room full of people who have proof of vaccination, you should be, relatively speaking, safer. Obviously, it's always a risk that someone takes. If they have a medical exemption for vaccination, they are taking a risk leaving the house. But this is, if you're a bar and you say everyone here either is approved that they are vaccinated or they have a medical exemption, cool. I have no problem with that. My kid is watching something, and I just suddenly heard it, and I was like, how loud is that? Earphones don't tell me these things. Anyways, so I'm not opposed to that at all. Businesses do not need to apply for the program. Audits and enforcement will occur to ensure rules are followed. Would not apply to businesses or entities that need to be accessed for daily living. Employees or businesses participating in the program, children under 12. So, yeah, to me, I think that, maybe I'm wrong, but I think that sounds like what they're saying is the issue that we have is not the people who got vaccinated. It's the people who have not done so. And so we're just gonna focus our attention on people who are intentionally unvaccinated. And by intentionally, I mean not medically exempt. The religious exemption thing, I get it. I totally get. If you have the Jesus in your heart, and the Jesus that's in your heart is like, all medicine is evil, all right, cool. But I don't have to expose other people to you for you to have your religious freedom. So I'm not gonna. We're not gonna open the doors to you. I'm sorry if Jesus cries for you, but if you can't go to a bar and get drunk, I don't think Jesus gives a shit. That's my 2 cents on the matter, but I feel like Jesus he's pretty clear on the subject, so I'm not going to worry about that. And in terms of people's like political and ideological opinions, cool, have those all you want. Deal with the consequences. Now, we don't have a workplace mandate that as far as I understand things. And that's all up in the news because Biden is putting it in, and the right are all government overreach. And again, it just comes down to like, yes, you have freedoms, but yes, you have responsibilities. me staying home and keeping my kids home when I am 100% certain that I am not contagious, because this is allergies that follow the same pattern every fucking year, was me making sure that I was doing what I needed to do to keep the people around me safe. You close your door there, dude? Jake! You close your door, please? Yeah, no worries. That's some good parenting. Didn't punch him once. Pat on the back. Just kidding. Don't hit your kids. Don't hit your kids. That's bad. Or at least, like, you know, don't bad hit your kids. I don't know. Fuck. Do what you're gonna do. Deal with the consequences. Freedom. So, anyways, the point that I'm getting at in all this is, if you physically can't take the vaccine, I get it. If you have taken the vaccine, I get it. If you've chosen not to, I get it. All those things are valid. But there are consequences for all of them. If you've chosen to take the vaccine, the consequences are you're not bulletproof, but you can pretty much go back to life as it was. It's not a bad deal. If you can't, then the consequences are every time you leave the house, you're taking a risk. That's valid. I get it. I hope that is not the case, but it is the case. And if you've chosen not to, well, you're making choices. Period. So yeah, we don't have a mandate as far as I know. I'm not 100% in the know on the wild, wild world. The company I work for has a mandate. That's fine by me. I was long dealt with before the mandate was a concern. But there are people who are upset about it. Totally get that. Totally understand. I just don't care. You know, you don't have to like that the world requires you to be vaccinated. You really don't. But the world requires you to be vaccinated. So, geez, sorry about your luck. You know, I literally, I know this is kind of a weak argument on my end, but I'm at a point where I'm like, I don't fucking care anymore. And I saw a meme and it was like, pretty quick leap from we're all in this together to I don't care if you die. It wasn't a quick leap. That's the thing. This has been a year and a half of us watching the world around us just get dumber and dumber. And I'm using that term very intentionally. When you say things like, you know, do your own research. No. Because you're not actually telling me to do research. You're telling me to only research the counter arguments. Which, no, I don't need to do that. I don't need to do that in order to feel comfortable about the decision that I've made. Matter of fact, I don't need to do that for, like, period, end of sentence, fucking anything. You know, when someone says, oh, the world is shaped like a flaccid penis, and I can go, well, no, it's not. I've seen evidence. And they go, do your own research. No. I don't need to. I am okay with saying that there is a certain amount of trust I put in people who have knowledge that I do not have because of years and years of education. Does that mean the world cannot be penis-shaped? No. It means the world just isn't penis-shaped because someone would have been like, hey, flaccid penis Earth. It's my new theory. And then they would have been able to prove it. The flat Earth concept has been around forever, and yet they're not proving anything to anyone. So maybe doing the research doesn't fucking matter. When it comes to immunology, in order for me to do the research, to really understand is COVID a threat and is vaccination effective, I would need to look at all of the data, which I don't have access to, and I shouldn't have access to. I would need to be able to understand that data in a pandemic virology perspective. So I'd have to have at least a layman's understanding of that, not just the you know, concepts of virology and immunology and all of these things, and the long history of vaccination and the results of that, But I would also need to understand how to properly understand the statistical analysis side of it, which I don't. I would need to understand how to effectively look at things like the P-score and say, yes, this data is good, but it's 17% less crispy than I need it to be. I don't know these fucking things. I'm not math man. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with accepting that the people who make a living doing this shit probably aren't stupid at it. They're probably good at it. So I'm fine with that. When you say, do your research, and then you pass me a shitty PragerU video or Plandemic or one of these bullshit half takes of well, my uncle had a headache and it was COVID, but then he took a test and it wasn't COVID, but he definitely had a headache and it could only, like, fuck off. You are not fooling anyone. You're just not. And I've seen these tactics for years. I was married to an anti-vaxxer. She wasn't anti-vax when we got married. She became anti-vax as time went on. And that was a very powerless feeling. I don't disparage her. She was doing her own research. I just don't think that the research she was doing was valid. When you go, oh, Dr. Andrew Wakefield, who is a doctor, or at least was at the time, proved there's a relationship between vaccines and autism. And you go, well, no, when I dig into that, Dr. Wakefield actually lost his position to call himself a doctor as a result of the terrible study he did that was in no way valid science and should have been humiliating to him professionally. No, I don't feel like I owe Dr. Wakefield anything or any of this shit. And that's just bad reasoning. You've done a bad. And so if that's what doing your own research is, you should stop. Cause you're not good at doing your own research. Anyway, so here in Alberta, it looks to me like what we're saying is business as usual, unless you are, as a business, can't guarantee that the people in your room are either fully vaccinated or have a legitimate medical exemption. To me, that's the dream we've been wanting to get to. I'm okay with this. If I can play a show and I know that it's not going to be problematic for the people that are at that show, I'm in. I feel bad for musicians who have delayed getting the vaccine. I know that there are some, and that sucks. I feel like, they're kind of getting screwed over, probably unnecessarily, and I feel bad for that. These are people that I consider friends, in some cases. The people who are like, but the vaccine will turn you into a lizard man. No, I don't feel bad for you. You don't get to play shows anymore, and that's fine. It's there. There's something about policing our own scene that has always been part of what we did. I'm a punk rock kid. We've always been believers in the necessity of actually making sure that our scene is safe. And we are by no means perfect. I'm not going to pretend like there have never been sexual predators or racists or whatever in any of the music scenes I've worked in. But I've done what I can to make sure that they're not, that they're exposed or removed. That's something that came about because as an old punk rock guy, the old punk rock world was ripe for the Nazi skinhead involvement. And Calgary said no. Calgary said fuck no. And kept that out. When we started the beer corps, ripe for all kinds of terrible people, we said no. It's ironic because I still get told every now and then that, I'm a gigantic racist. And that my company that I run, that have been putting on shows for, this will be year 17, that we're all giant racists. And it always comes back to, well, I remember one time there was a show and someone was there and they were a soldier of Odin and you didn't kick them out or beat them up. And I'm like, what are you talking about? First off, I have no idea what the fuck you're talking about. If I had seen someone in like a Soldiers of Odin outfit, they would have left. however ugly that would have gone. And same with all the people I work with. I don't know what the fuck. Like, and because we're talking about, like, this event happened, like, some random amount of time ago, but it happened, and, you know, I think you were there. And I'm like, okay, so that's a pretty good receipt. I'll just yeah, that makes me clearly a Nazi. Anyways, not a Nazi. Fuck Nazis. Fuck the alt-right. Fuck all of those people. Anyone who even says to you, why can't I be proud of being white? Fuck that guy. Or girl. No, or other person. Not discriminating against my hate for discriminators. Equal opportunity. Slow day so far. I look in my chat and I see that there's only one name I don't know, and that's Have This Too. I hope Have This Too. I don't think I've seen your name in my chat before. I hope you're doing well. Feel free to pop in and say stuff if you want. Either way, I'll just keep on talking about whatever I want to talk about, and you know, feel free to chat. If you don't want to and you just want to listen to the dulcet tones of my awesome allergy voice, we can do that too. But welcome. I hope you enjoy yourself. And if you like, you know, feel free to give a follow. All that shit. Before I go any further, I will talk about my my weekly humiliations, because that's a thing I do. This is all part of it's theoretical. So I'm like the smallest of small stream Andys. And I probably always will be. I'm an old man. I'm fucking 48 now. Not the prime years of streamer life, you know, and I don't expect to be the next Hassan or even the next Dylan Burns or the next you know, other person who has a bit of a following. That said, I am a hardcore lefty prick, and the platform that I am primarily on right now is Mr. Bezos' platform, and there will come a point, potentially, where people will want to give money to me for, like, subscriptions and things. And that doesn't sit well with me, because I don't want to put money in Mr. Bezos' pocket, especially for him extracting value from my labor, and using the argument that, you're using the platform and the platform is everything. It is. That's the reality. The person Have This Too, I'm assuming, probably only knows of the existence of me because I probably showed up on the channels you might like thing. And that's awesome. And I do accept that the platform has a place. But if people are going to want to do things to support me, which they shouldn't do, because I have a day job, I make decent money, but I don't want to do things that would give Mr. Bezos money. So I thought about this, and originally I was like, I'll just tell people not to give me money. And then I was like, but people do enjoy tipping. You see this all the time. And it's something that I'm just going to have to deal with. So I created the weekly humiliations. The weekly humiliations are intended to be essentially a joke with no pressure whatsoever. I have a humiliation ticker, which looks like this. And if we go through the different options, so for free, you get the good karaoke song. Today's good karaoke song is going to be Beer by Real Big Fish. And with this allergen-based snot-addled throat, it should be gorgeous. If a total of $10 in monies come in, I will do the bad karaoke. Honestly, I'll probably do the bad karaoke anyway, because I enjoy it. And it's my humiliations, and I don't care about the money. So I will do the bad karaoke. This time the bad karaoke is the classic Faith by George Michael at $20. And again, this is like all combined. If the millions of people watching send like a nickel each and it comes to over $20, then we get karaoke where chat gets to pick what I do for a song. That's only happened once, and they made me sing This Is How You Remind Me by Nickelback. And as a Canadian, I was very offended. $35 trumpet-okie, where I will whip out my trumpet, which I have not played in a very long time, and which I have to fucking record a trumpet line for a grindcore song today and tomorrow. I forgot about that. Fuck. And my lips are totally out of shape, so this will be terrible. Anyways, and Chad can pick a song, and I will just try and play trumpet along with it, and it will be awful and humiliating and glorious. And at $50, it's hell to pay. Hell to pay is, and Chad just gets to decide how to humiliate me, and I have to deal with that. So that's the humiliation ticker. And essentially, you can send me email money transfers to the email address bigjimyammers@gmail.com, or you can use the streamlabs.com/biguglygym, and it'll allow you to tip. But again, never feel obliged to tip. You're probably going to get the same karaoke experience either way. So don't give me your money. Give me your love and your faith. Don't do that. That's terrible. That's terrible. I don't even know who the fuck am I. Yeah. So that's the weekly humiliations. And again, it's just kind of a way for me to go. I don't want to give Bezos money, and if people want to do things for me, I want to give them a vehicle to do that and make it fun. And that'll be a thing. Oh, you know what? I do remember another thing I want to talk about. The thing that people are doing with the Holocaust comparisons with COVID, I was so fucking angering. Here's the deal. Let's have a little chat. So I'm an old man. I'm not old enough to have seen the Holocaust, but my generation got browbeat by my parents' generation, the baby boom, who were essentially the children of the people who were in, well, probably not, somewhere in there. I don't fucking know how time works. Anyways, they were either, the Silvers went, and I think some of the early baby boomers went, and they were the ones who fought World War II. And lest we forget, and it was really good that we did not ever forget, and that's why we don't have a rise in fascism in the West right fucking now. Just kidding. We totally do. We forgot lustfully. Not seeing these things makes it, like firsthand experiencing what World War II was like, makes it more of a logical thing. And I think the farther we get away from it, the less we really understand it. So when I see people and they're like, they've got their little bullshit posts about how, they're it's just like Nazi Germany, and you're like, wait, what did you just fucking say? And then they go, well, bruh, like, all I'm saying is that, like, it started with, like, civil liberties being taken, and that's, like, where does it end? Okay, so now you've not just gone with the horrible Holocaust analysis, but also you're doing a really, really terrible slippery slope argument. Cool idea, cool plan. I will address that and say your civil liberties are not being taken away. Again, you have freedom and you have responsibility. Freedom means that you should be able to say, my body, my choice, and have a decision on what happens to your body. Totally cool with that. Problem is, your body is not the end of the conversation. Your body ends and other people's bodies begin. And if you are a spreader of disease, you should be stopped. I don't understand how we're even having this conversation. When you hear about somebody who has HIV and who knowingly infects other people, every single human is like, dude, that person is a monster and should be charged with attempted murder or murder if any of those people die. Fuck that guy. And we're like, yeah, that makes sense. But if there was what you're saying is you have to wear a condom. Yes. I have to give my child nicotine cigarettes so that he can grow up big and strong. Happy 3rd birthday, son.
Thanks, Dad.
He's not 3. That would be a lie. Yeah, they're not taking your civil liberties. They're asking you to act responsibly. And when you fail to act responsibly, there comes a point where in order to protect the infrastructure of the world around us, they have to do more than just ask nice. And that's because you haven't done your part. And fuck your face. So I don't feel in any way bad about people who are making this argument. You're not losing your civil liberties. You're being held to account for your bad behavior. And that's a different thing. And then they go, hey, bruh, they don't have to necessarily, okay, I know that we don't have COVID death camps yet, but, They can still draw similarities. Yes, you can. I can draw similarities that are stupid too. I'll give you an example. A football game is like the Holocaust because there are a lot of people involved. That's a really bad allegory. There is no need for me to say that was the thing I was going to allegoricate, whatever that word would be. I don't have to draw that particular line. If I was actually trying to do that, and obviously it's a stupid example, but if I was trying to do that, hey, Tansy, Oki, hi, sugar. If I was trying to do that, I would be being an asshole. This is what this is. When people are like, well, here's the thing, you had the tattoos in Auschwitz, and then you got COVID vaccines, and that's the same thing. No, it's not. No, it's not. The tattoo was like a permanent marker that was used to dehumanize a person and make them a number so that they could be processed through a whole Holocaust thing. Versus, yes, you have a piece of paper or some other document that states that you've made the decision to have a vaccination. Those are not the same. Drawing the Nazi conclusion is intentionally hyperbolic, insulting, and annoying, and you need to stop doing that. This is like Olympic gold medal winning victimization. These idiots are using child trafficking too now. Oh yeah. I feel like you're being unfair there, Sugar, because if I'm not mistaken, and I could be wrong here, but I believe that Donald Trump he drained the swamp, and he saved our children, and there are no more satanic pedophiles because Donald Trump and the storm or something. I'm not really up on my QAnon, but I think that's what it said in there, right? And that's why he got Hillary Clinton to murder Jeffrey Epstein, his very close friend, who was clearly a child. I get lost in the details. I'm not sure. Fortunately, we had a virtuous, moral person in charge of the draining of the swamp, someone who would never have to pay hush money to a porn star for cheating on his wife. So yeah, I think I've talked enough about COVID. Sugar, you missed at the very, very start of this. You know what? I'm gonna play it again because this was like a special treat for Nicki Minaj, and it just made me giggle. I'm gonna replay this just so you can see it, and I'm gonna click. I better click here and do the thing, and get that there, and we can pop that over, and then I will click this thing. And I have to jump to fucking open it. No, not there, stupid. That's not what I wanted. Okay. I'm good at things, I promise. Mama raised me to be good at copying and pasting, which was an important skill in these crazy times we find ourselves in. Where the hell did my thing? Oh, there it is. Okay. Paste. I'm going to jump to 155. All right, so this is for Nicki Minaj. This is from the movie Johnny Dangerously. And I'm only doing this because
your
missed
testicles
it.
And you. Take a good look. These are the unlucky ones. These unfortunate souls are suffering from ESS, enlarged scrotum syndrome. For these poor devils, it's too late. But there is hope. Here at the Atlanta Genital Institute, teams of doctors are at work around the clock to cure this dreaded affliction.
It's a very real thing. I don't know why you are bringing the WTFs, because clearly this is a real doctor about to talk about a real doctoring thing.
Hi, I'm Dr. Zillman, and I'd like to talk to you about your testes. The human testicle is not unlike a balloon. Sometimes it is empty. And sometimes it is full. And sometimes it can explode. Maybe this will help you understand. Just remember
Look at
that
him,
your
he's so
testicles,
cute.
when treated with love and care, will give you years of maintenance-free service. But if abused, well...
Sometimes we put them in your mouth. Yes, in our mouth, sorry.
Conclusion. So next time, do the smart thing. Don't let anything come between
your testicles and you.
Thank you.
So that, yeah, we watched that. And then I rewatched it with you just now because I'm happy you're here, Sugar. You're always fun. Sometimes we put them in our mouth. See, I honestly can tell you that I never put my testicles or anyone's testicles in my mouth. That said, I don't think it's outside the realm of possibility. The flexibility, I think, is definitely getting in the way there. But, someone else's testicles, who knows? Who knows what the future holds? Not necessarily a thing I expect to have happen or to be a part of, but I didn't expect January 6th insurrection happening either. So, clearly I'm not the arbiter of all the things that could happen in the wild, wild world. How are you doing, Sugar? It's good to see you. On my end, I've just been bitching about just waiting on the one extra beer. I don't know what extra beer we're talking about. I do have a beer, but I'm drinking coffee right now. Yeah. So the whole thing with my bringing that up was, balls in your mouth. Yes, you got your balls in your mouth, man. I don't think that's how that goes, but you know what? I'm gonna jump out for a stretch in a couple minutes. But first, I want to talk to you about how my relationship with Dog the Bounty Hunter has changed over time. So I was never a fan of Dog the Bounty Hunter. It was always one of those shows that, like, if it was on, I would pay attention, and it wasn't terrible. And I would say bra and ice a lot because that's all they did. But I never gave too much of a fuck about it. And then I was watching a couple days ago. My eldest son played Dog the Bounty Hunter, but it was a react video from some people who hey, I just got spam from fake Tim Hortons with a green check mark beside the name Tim Hortons in the email address. That's fucking awesome. Super cringe. I should have noticed that they were cringe, but it was always just like, okay, because I was young and dumb. And I watched it through the eyes of these people watching it for the first time, and I was like, wow, have I changed as a person? I didn't used to love him, but like background noise wise, it was just kind of there, and definitely racist. They were 100% racist. In fact, I believe Beth got in trouble for like yelling racial epithets at somebody and then calling the police and claiming they had a gun when they didn't, and she got arrested for that. So way to go, Beth. Dog, though, represents the cruelty of our system. It represents the idea that the people who are poor, because the whole bail bond thing in the States is not about justice. It's about, I think that the idea was sort of good, and it was like, if you have to put up some money, then you're probably not going to fuck around, and that's good. But yeah, that didn't work out that way. Bail bonds have created a system in the States. We don't have that here. We do have a bail system, but it's different, and I don't understand it half as well as I should. But they created the system where a guy like Dog will put up the money, and you have to be responsible, and then I don't know how he gets paid, but he gets paid somehow. And that puts the onus on him as the bounty hunter, to run around and be a dick and make sure that you do the things you need to do. Now, most of the time, the crimes people are charged with are not like, murder that Dog the Bounty Hunter is involved in. It's stuff like, I have a problem with drugs and I got caught doing drugs and now I am being fucked over by the system, and now I got screwed over by Dog the Bounty Hunter on top of the system. So that's awesome. It's like Dog's whole thing is that his job is to be that guy who makes sure the poors stay in line. And that's gross. That's fucking gross. So yeah, we don't have a commercial bail bondsman service in Canada. We do have, you can have certain charges where you put up a certain amount of money. Our money levels, like I think $5,000 is like, wow, you must have killed a guy kind of thing. But it's a whole different monster. And essentially, there are no like bond-based bounty hunters in Canada. I was going to say there's no bounty hunters, but I guarantee you there's some dude in Soldier of Fortune magazine like, I am a bounty hunter, and if you need me to dig deep and find that, person that escaped from you owing you $30, well, I'm your man. That kind of shit will guarantee it happen. That's not really a bounty hunter so much as just a douche with a lot of guns. But we have those here, so I can't say like we're good. But the things I hated about Dog, the racism. Even at the time, I noticed how often it was, there was a very, very race-based dynamic to the show, shall we say. Praying when they would hold hands, and literally like in the episode that these guys were watching, Dog's like, whose life are we gonna ruin today? And then they're praying, and they may as well have been like, dear Jesus, thank you for giving us the opportunity to just fuck somebody over, some poor who doesn't deserve to even breathe. At least you're here as your avenging hammer of justice, because I know Jesus was all about punishing the poors, making sure they pay their goddamn free share. Otherwise hell and damnation. So God bless us. Let's go beat some poors. That shit drove me nuts. And not because I'm an atheist. I am an atheist. But because that's just fucking terrible. It's just fucking terrible. The thing that he did this in this, the guy that they were arresting had the same last name as him, and so he was like, first I'm gonna break him down, then I'm gonna build him back up. So like the whole story is this dude was out on a work furlough, and he was like 5 minutes late to come back, and so they were like, well, you can't come back late, so you can't come back. And then he was like, okay, what am I supposed to do? And they're like, well, that's not our problem. And he's like, well, and they're like, you're now an escaped prisoner. And he's like, I'm fucking 5 minutes late for work. Like, what in the green fuck are you talking about? And that was his thing. He'd been in jail for quite a long time and was, playing by all the rules, but got late to work. And therefore he is escaping prison and now on the run from Dog the fucking bounty hunter. So Dog like hacks on him. And just like, you're a piece of shit. You got my name. You're a Chapman. Chapmans do better. Mark David Chapman was the best goddamn Beatle killer or whoever the fuck. Who was Mark David Chapman again? Anyways, like I think it was the Beatles. They made a crack about it on the show. But yeah, like, dude, just rips this guy a new one. And then, gets him fucking handcuffed in the back of this ugly ass SUV with a cigarette in his mouth, hands behind his back, and he's like, bruh. What are you doing, man? Your mom knows you're better than this. Better than being 5 minutes late for work. Again, that's what we're talking about. Bruh. Come on, bruh. You gotta do better. And it's like literally like this half-assed weak bullshit like, guy, I believe in you. You can do better. Also, I'm throwing you in jail and you're probably gonna get another 10 years because you were 5 minutes late for work furlough. So, do better. But that whole thing where he would just shit all over people and then be like, guy, you can do better. You're good. Just fucking terrible. I hated that shit. The other thing is the no guns thing. So I didn't understand at the time why Dog didn't have a gun. He always makes it this grand like, oh yeah, man, we don't use guns. His team had guns. They all had guns. Why did Dog not have a gun? Turns out when you're an ex-con, you're not allowed to own a weapon in certain states. And those were states where he operated, so he wasn't allowed to own a gun. It wasn't some fucking altruistic like, no, man, let the Jesus in. No, he just wasn't allowed to shoot at people. And then apparently there was a arrest that he was trying to make, and he made allegations that this guy either shot him or shot at him. And we made a big, oh my God, this is the thing, I was getting shot at. And dude was like, I didn't fucking shoot at you. Like, what are you talking about? Fuck. And like, homeboy lost his job. Homeboy sued Dog. Dog was like, I got video evidence, man. And then never provided it. And so eventually he won the lawsuit, and that was that. But like, what a fucking dick move. Anyways, I don't even know what I'm saying. Fuck Dog the Bounty Hunter. Fuck all of that. The whole thing about Dog that I didn't get when I was a kid was the representation of what Dog was. He is essentially the poor white that the rich whites point at the minorities and the other poors to go get them, keep them in line. And Dog goes, one day I'm going to be a goddamn president of the country. I know it. I know I can turn things around with conservatism and goodness. And I'm going to do that. And it does not end well. So fuck Dog the Bounty Hunter. Pay for you. They'll just take whatever you put up for collateral here. House, car, money. Yeah, totally. Right? Like it's so fucking completely shit-filled that poor people who are fucked are forced into a situation like American prisons. It turns out, I don't know if we know this, kind of shitty. And so if you can, get bail, you make bail however you can. And then you are in the pocket of these fucking bounty hunter pricks, the bail bondsmen. And you have all these really shit things that you have to do in order to sort of maintain your fucking freedom. And any one of those little things goes wrong. And you're fucked. And suddenly you're a monster. And you got some guy kicking in your door and telling your parents they're pieces of shit for hiding you because you were having, family fucking dinner. And they lose their house or whatever. Like, the whole system in that case is just designed to be grossly authoritarian. And fuck that. Anyways, now's the time. I'm going to go outside, stretch my lungs a little bit. And this will be really annoying. I'm going to play my homemade Muzak version of Bryan Adams' Run to You that's not complete on a loop. And I'll find a good speech to put over top of it. Who should I use? I've done Tommy Douglas a bunch. You know what? Let's bring out Chrétien. Not that I like Chrétien, but we'll find a good Jean Chrétien speech. What the fuck just happened there? Yeah, it's Muzak. I made this. I'm not proud of myself, but I'm super proud of myself. Why does it keep fucking stopping like that? Alright, this will work. Here we go. This is from the first time Chrétien remembers the flag flying.
Il y a 50 ans aujourd'hui.
50 years ago today.
Il y a 50 ans aujourd'hui.
50 years ago today.
Il faisait froid.
It was cold.
Alright, I will be right back.
But if it was cold outside, because it was very cold on Parliament Hill, our hearts were very warm with pride as a new Canadian flag was raised for the first time. I was there with my three colleagues, Renald Gay, Auguste Jacquet, and Ian Watson. We were there for a very difficult debate that lasted for months. I was there, when at the end of the vote, when those who had voted for the flag got up to sing "O Canada," and unfortunately they were booed. We were there. I remember right after that, going from the second floor to the fifth floor, there was pushing around between members of Parliament. One push old George McElwraith from Ottawa Centre, Minister of Public Works. And I was there again, and in fact, for the first time, for the Shawinigan handshake to solve the problem. It was a great day, and it was, in my judgment, with Mike Pearson, the great Mike Pearson, the Nobel Prize. emancipation of Canada, starting again. You know, that new Canada that was to be developed. It was the period where we started to move on our own, you know, to be changing the society. We went, after difficult debate on that, the Royal Air Force became the Canadian Air Force. The Royal Navy became the Canadian Navy. I don't know why we're going back, but it's another problem. You know, it was at the time that, because all under the Canadian flag, you know, we were moving. We started Medicare, Canada Pension Plan. It was under this flag that we did the national anthem. The two official languages. It is at this time, under this flag, that we started to open Canada to immigrants, not only anymore from Europe, but from Asia. And I see a lot of you there who came from Asia, you know, China, India, Philippines, Pakistan, and many others. And after that, it was under this flag that the people start to come from the Caribbean islands to Canada. It was under this flag that they start to come here from Latin America. You know, we were there because we had to build a place for Canada. We were a colony only a couple of generations before, and we started to move on. And when my friend Mr. Trudeau was a prime minister, you know, we became part of the G7, only, you know, involved in all the big problems and big solutions of the world. And after that, under this flag, at the United Nations, when it was the time for Canada d'avoir son siège au Conseil de sécurité.
To have a seat on the Security Council.
Ce n'était pas un problème pour M. Trudeau de
It wasn't a problem for Mr. Trudeau to have
Ce ne
it.
fut pas un problème non plus.
Nor was it a
M.
problem
Mulroney de l'avoir.
under Mr. Mulroney to secure a seat.
Évidemment, ce n'était aucun problème.
Of course,
Plus tard, de l'avoir encore
it
une
was
fois.
no problem later on
You know, it
to
was the
secure
time
one
when
either.
Canada was respected. You know, we were proactive. We were showing the world what it was to build a modern society with the diversity that we have. And I see today, you know, it was the Canada that helped, for example, Nelson Mandela and his run to make his country a normal country with so much generosity. So Trudeau was very difficult too for Mr. Mulroney, I remember, because he was fighting Madame Thatcher. I don't know why, but during all that period of time there was a huge disagreement on that, and it was when I was there that he was liberated and we made him. It was a great moment in my life to make Nelson Mandela a Canadian citizen. You know, that was the Canada that the last 50 years we were an example to everybody. You will remember, for example, in the 1934, 95, 96, 97, and so on, every year, the report of the United Nations on quality of life was always making Canada number one. Now we have dropped to 8, 9, 10, 11. I don't know what happened. It was under that we were promoting the power of the middle power when we initiated the great treaty of the landmine treaties. So to ban this awful instrument of war, that we were the initiator of the Canadian International Court of Criminal Justice was under this flag that we had accepted. Unfortunately, it's not there anymore. Kyoto. You know, something happened. Something happened, and it's not funny, it's sad. C'est triste parfois de voir ça.
It's sad to see that sometimes.
When we were defeated.
That was mean of me, wasn't it? I feel like I listened along, and that was hard. I have chat stuff happening here. Your Coke tastes amazing, bro. Hey, I don't know who your Coke tastes amazing, bro is, Step Bro, but welcome. I hope you are happy and everything's good. So let's see. There's a doctor providing opioid scripts. Shot people won't die from street drugs. Can we talk about that a little? Sure. There's a doctor providing opioid scripts. So I'm assuming so people won't die from street drugs. So I actually more than happy to talk about that. Actually, I have always been, and always in like somewhat quotes, because no one's always been anything, but for a very, very long time, I have been super pro drug legalization. And that started with me wanting to legalize marijuana, and has evolved to me wanting to legalize fucking everything. My whole idea on that is street drugs bad, doctor drugs better. So yeah, when it comes to a doctor, is there like a link or anything, Sugar, that you want to pass on? Yeah, legalize everything. I would rather, if someone is going to take, for example, heroin, I would far rather that what they were buying was heroin that was of some kind of decent quality, and that a doctor was involved in the conversation, and that doctor was actively doing his do no wrong part of saying like, hey, listen, we can help. There are things we can do to, get you weaned off of opioids and things like that. Particularly opioids, because of the reality of how that epidemic has happened. Fuck yeah. The medical system is completely complicit in that. And that's not me being hot take boy. That's me just saying the medical system is completely complicit in that. When people are doing opioids, most of the time, from my limited understanding as someone who's not an opioid user, my understanding is that they generally come to that by way of they get some kind of a pain management script for whatever reason. It has a limited time span, and they become addicted in that time frame. And then all of a sudden they're told, no, you can't have it anymore. And yeah, I'm a smoker. I'm addicted to a thing. I understand what happens with the brain when you can't get the thing that you want and the thing that you're physically addicted to. I totally get that. I would far rather we lived in a society where those drugs were done, provided for people in a safe environment. That includes safe consumption. So I'm 100% on board with the idea of safe consumption sites. And it involves people who are, the person who's selling you the drugs, having a vested interest in making sure that those drugs are good. I think the idea of the evil dealer who's just like, I'm putting fentanyl in everything, is probably not 99 times out of 100 very accurate. Certainly that person exists, but I think most of the time you're getting drugs from people that you know, that you trust, hopefully, and that doesn't mean that somewhere along the chain someone didn't fuck around though. And we see all the time. We see people like, I remember when I was younger, BC was getting shipments of heroin that were like 80% pure, and heroin users in BC weren't ready for 80% pure heroin. They were not used to that, and it was causing a massive number of overdoses. Now we've got the fentanyl crisis and people overdosing like mad. And at the end of the day, we just have to accept that this is a legitimate problem, and the solution is not to just go, we'll stop. Because that's never the solution. It doesn't work when you say to someone who's suicidal, have you tried being happy? It doesn't work to someone who's an addict and saying, have you just tried not being an addict anymore? That's dumb and foolish and a guaranteed way for the problem to get worse. And if we're not meeting that problem with legitimate help, then we're meeting it with illegitimate help. I can't think of a better way to phrase it than that. But it turns out it's actually really shitty and bad when people are going to not doctors to get medicine. That's true for ivermectin, and it's true for heroin. So I see that you can't find it. If I find it, we can or if you find it, we can sort of talk more about it. In my mind, I think I have an itchy, annoying. In my mind, I think that I think doctors should be obligated to play a role in that process. How is fentanyl getting in those drugs? It's getting in there because people are shitty. In some cases, from what I understand, and I could be way wrong on this, but I think that the desire for more potent drugs is causing people to be okay with the whole fentanyl inclusion thing. But I think also people are like, they're cutting their shit. They're trying to make more profit. A little tiny bit of fentanyl goes a lot longer than a whole bunch of heroin. So you can cut it more. And again, I'm no fucking expert. I just know that it's bad. Not bad like drugs bad. Bad like, why are we letting people be exposed to dangerous shit? So yeah, doctors should be a part of that. Doctors should be like, in my perfect future world, what I would have is, you want to smoke some weed, smoke some hash, smoke some mushrooms. I'm really good at drugging. You want to do those kinds of drugs, the quote unquote soft drugs. Why can't you, whether it's the coffee shop system like they have in Amsterdam, or, in my mind, I wouldn't have a problem with people going to like a weed dispensary and being able to get those kinds of things. And when we're talking about something that's a little, more serious, like, harder drugs, cocaine, meth, etc., your doctor would be a fine place to be able to go and get that. And again, your doctor has a vested interest, theoretically, in making sure that you have access to solutions to get off of drugs. Your doctor also has a vested interest in making sure that the quality of drugs that you're getting is good. That doesn't mean all doctors are good people, but some kind of nest charge people money to trip balls. Some kind of nest charge people money to trip balls. Yeah. It took a second for me to put it all together. I often have conversations with my best friend about what the world would be like if I was the boss of the world or she was the boss of the world. And one of the things that we talk about is like, let's take some of those empty ass office towers downtown, turn them into reasonable housing for people. And also have facilities for safe consumption. And then, play place for adults. Why wouldn't you have a bar where people could be doing heroin and doing it in a way that's not, the shitty, scuzzy, burnt out building in the bad part of town. Like, none of these things. My view on drugs changed so much as I got older, because I was raised in that society that was like, if you even smoke a reefer marijuana, you're going to wind up on heroin murdering people. And that's how I was raised. I was raised to believe that if you did acid, you would like jump out of a window, or The story that I remember being told was about a guy at a party who did the evil acid, and he felt the blood pulsing in his leg, and he decided it was a spider, and he went and got a hacksaw and cut his own leg off, and like, oh my God, that's what those drugs will do to you. No. Having done acid in Minecraft, I know that that's not how that works. My mom was an addict. I was raised going around the block to score for her. Yeah, I can't imagine what that would be like. My parents were addicted to Jesus, and they got a steady stream, so that was never a thing I had to worry about. But, you know, like, addiction is real. And when we pretend like we can just will it away by going like, no, just stop, we're not solving the problem. I'm a firm believer in looking at it as an actual problem and solving it. I also look at it in my new grown-up view and say, you know what? If you do heroin once, you're probably not going to be a junkie. All that shit that we got told, I don't know about anyone else's generation, but I definitely had a more toxic childhood. Yeah, the Jesus was everywhere in my house. No, I'm just kidding. The view that I had of like gateway drugs and all the shit that they tell you, and then, you know, living in the world that I live in now, and having seen, you know, friends of mine who've done some serious fucking drugs and have decided not to. Friends of mine who've become legitimately addicted to drugs, and you know, struggled with that and continue to struggle with that. Like, it changes your perspective, and in ways that I think are important, because, you know, we got lied to. We got straight up lied to as kids. The DARE program and all that other shit was designed to make drugs so scary that we would never fucking do them. The problem is, then someone we knew did one, and they didn't become a junkie, and they didn't become a problem. And we're like, oh, all of this is bullshit. Speaking of drugs, I need to take a moment to make sure my youngest child has nicotine in his system. Here you go, youngest child.
I was wondering if I can move $20.
You're wondering if what?
If I can move $20.
And this had to happen right now. This conversation about you needing money had to happen this second. But no. Let's have it. Let's take a moment. Pardon me, viewers at home. So you want to make $20? Is that because you want to get drunk tonight?
Yes.
I don't feel like giving you $20 to get drunk. The last time I gave you money, knowing that you were going to be a grown-up about it, you went and bought a bottle of was it whiskey, and drank it all like hard.
I don't think it's beers. My friends.
But you just lost all your trust.
I know.
You were fucking losing your mind. Why can't you guys treat me like a goddamn adult? Meanwhile, the whole night you were up puking. You were puking like to the point where your brother and I were like, do we call the hospital? What do we do? You what?
Not gonna get to that point, not nearly.
But you just did.
I know.
You just did. Like, what do you want me to do here? As your parent, I'm supposed to be like, of course, guy, let me make sure that you have access to liquor alcohols. I'm fine with the idea. I know that you're gonna drink. You're a teenager. You're gonna drink. I drank when I was a teenager. But like, when you give me all the shit, and your brother all the shit, oh, I'm only going to drink responsibly. I don't want to be drunk. I don't like the feeling of being drunk. Why won't you treat me like an adult? And then you get a fucking bottle and you're like, what the fuck do you expect me to do here? I have an idea. Let's have this conversation a little bit later, and then we can have, it'll be maybe a little less performative. All right? Dork. Deviled Eggy, the Pac-Man noise for drinking. You know, you gotta parent the way you parent, right? Buy him nudes, they taste like static. I don't know if I want to buy him nudes, because I don't know if I want to know what shit he's into. Yeah, I let my kids try stuff, but I make sure they're safe and I tell them the truth. Exactly. And I think that's the key. I think, like, when I got lied to about drugs and the whole, like, you know, do heroin once, you're going to go on a killing spree and die in a rain of bullets and live in a shitty, seedy hotel in an American city and all that shit. Like, when I saw through that, I was I was an idiot. So I held those beliefs far longer than I probably should have. And then when I saw through it, I was like, fuck, that sucks. Like, not that I could have been doing drugs all this time, but, just that I hate that I was lied to. And I hate that, that people thought that it was better to keep me safe from my horrible, horrible base instincts of drugginess than to just be like, you know what, drugs, there's some downsides. Let's talk about it. That whole conversation we just had, that was fun. And it's similar because I always told my kids when, when they lived with me, because for the most part they did not. But when they lived with me, I was like, hey, I would rather know if you're doing drugs. I would rather know if you're drinking. I'd rather know that you're doing it and doing it safely and responsibly. And this last little burst is actually kind of unfair of me to hold against him. He went through some stuff, and he was not dealing with it well, and I gave him some money, knowing what was afoot. And we had this whole conversation, and it was like, okay, be responsible, be a grown-up, and then did not at all. And so I'm holding it over his head and grinding him down under my cruel, oppressive thumb. And I think that's good parenting. I think that is. We live in the hood. I doubt my kids would ever try anything hard. They see what happens with meth. To me, that's like, again, that there's a bit of a lie implied in that, because the problem isn't the meth. The problem is the state of mental health and the state of terror that we're all constantly under, with the fact that as workers we have no rights, we have no protections. So we're constantly living in fear of, especially people who are, as you say, living in the hood, constantly living in fear of, like, what is our next step? Like, what if I lose my job? What if I can't pay my rent? What if I blah, 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 blah. All that fear, all the, and things like, untreated mental illnesses or poorly treated mental illnesses, social pressures, all of this, drugs become an escape for that. And that is what can be very problematic. I don't know. I'm not telling you stuff you don't know, sugar. But I would rather my kids see drugs from that perspective and go like, wow, they can fuck you up, and have the honest conversation where it's like, yeah, that person is probably not fucked up because of drugs. Drugs just are not helping. They are making their life tangibly worse. So, like, make better choices than that. All you care about is that they don't get hurt, get arrested, or do something really dumb. Yeah, I do think it's important. Like, I 100% agree. But I think one of the things, and it's kind of implied in "don't get hurt," is the idea that, like, I have a vested interest in helping them understand how the really real world is, and that, like, there's going to be alcohol, there's going to be drugs. And how do you encounter those things and manage a life with that? So, like, for example, the conversation I just had, I'm gonna give him $20 to get a bottle of, or a bunch of beer with his friends. That's gonna happen. Don't tell him that. But I want him to understand that, like, the last time you fucked up, don't fuck up again, right? I want him to be able to, by the time he moves out of my house, I want him to be able to be like, yeah, there's alcohol in the world. I'm just going to approach it smart. Because I didn't get that. I got told this prohibition kind of vibe about alcohol and drugs. My parents were the type that would, like, have a glass of wine with dinner. Delicious. But that was it. And I lived with this idea that alcohol made you a drunk. Drugs made you a druggie. And I think it's much better that my kids understand the world and get into it, when they are out on their own, have the skills to understand. Because when I first found out that alcohol was a bunch of fun, I was a little bit of a problem. Not really, because I've always been kind of a dork, but less properly handled than it could have been. Where was we? Bear learned to drink responsible by wasting a potentially good time by getting carried away and spending 3 nights puking a few times. That is a learning lesson. I always tell my kids I know the cure for hangovers. and I won't give it to them until they've learned. That's parenting. I learned the hard way. I learned by drinking too much and finding out how genuinely shitty that is. Now, it's really uncommon that you find me more than just tipsy. I don't like the feeling of being drunk, and that has been the case for a very long time. Birthdays excluded, because at birthdays, people generally try to, give me alcohol poisoning, and God bless them for trying. I'm a fairly large fella, and I metabolize alcohol fairly well, so it doesn't usually pay off. There was one year, Karina put on a show for my birthday, and it was a beer core show, and we made this T-shirt. We bought like a generic gray T-shirt, and she put a sauce donkey meter on it, and there was like two tallies, tea, and on one side it was beers, and on one side it was shots, and there was a Sharpie attached to my shirt, and you could, every time you bought me a shot or a drink, you put a little tick in the appropriate column, and then people could also like sign the shirt and wish me well and all that kind of stuff. It was very cute, and I guarantee you, if I drank all of the drinks that were ticked on that shirt, I would be dead 6 times over. But I'm also really good at not drinking those drinks and nobody knowing, and this way the bar made money, I had a good night, no one died. It was good. Overly strict parents create sneaky kids. Yup. Or terrified kids. One or the other. Right? When you are a restrictive parent, you either instill in your child a fear of the world, or you instill in them that you're just wrong and that they can go around you and do the end around and get all the things they want to do. I don't like feeling out of control. That's always been my problem with alcohol. I remember I was after I graduated college, and I was married, and we were poor, so typically, like, if I was going out, we'd go to a karaoke bar. If I was going out, I would have, like, 1 or 2 beers over the course of the whole night. The big pints of beer, and drink that slowly, and it was good, and I was never drunk, and everything was fine. And then I had gotten a job with this company, and I had a coworker, Joost van Hest, who was from Amsterdam and was actually going back to Amsterdam. He was a friend of the boss, who was Dutch, and was staying with him for a little while. And while he was there, he was doing some work for the company. So it was approaching his last day, and they were like, let's go have a karaoke night. And I was like, right on, I know a place. And so we went to the karaoke bar I always went to, and I drank my 2 beers. But I didn't factor in the fact that every fucking 7 seconds, they're like, another round of vodka shots. And I'm like, well, all right, gloop. And this is back, I wasn't smoking at the time. So I'm not constantly standing up to go for a smoke. So I'm just sitting, I'm slowly sipping my beer, and gloop, sip my beer, oh, shots, gloop. You know that thing with vodka where when you're like, I'm totally sober. And then you stand up and you're like, I am not totally sober, holy shit. That happened to me. That was the worst feeling. And then I'm getting a ride home from one of the guys I work with's girlfriend. And I'm in the back seat of her shitty 2-door hatchback. We're driving down Crowchild Trail, which for the millions of people watching around the world is a road with not a lot of stops. And I realize that I'm going to puke. And almost at the same moment, I realize there is no way they are going to get the car stopped, get the door open, get the seat moved forward, get me out of that vehicle before I puke. And this is the way things are. And I took one for the team. I puked inside my t-shirt. And it was disgusting. And I got home just fucking covered in my own vomit, feeling like $1,000,000. And went to sleep on the couch. My ex-wife, we were still married at the time, comes downstairs, and like I'm lying in a shirt covered in puke on the couch, and she's like, cool. And yeah, that was a great story. Ever since then, for some reason, I haven't enjoyed being drunk. It's the weirdest thing. I don't know. I leave gifted drinks all over the place if I don't want to drink them. I can fake taking a shot, so that, like, you take the shot and you find a way to, like, this is super good, right on, Kurt, gonna go to the bathroom now, and spit it. I will take full beers and dump them in the toilet. I'm all about it. It's sometimes you just gotta drink smarter, not better, or something. I don't know. I'm just babbling at this point. What else did I want to talk about today? Sugar, are you good with the conversation we had about, like, is there more that you want to talk about when it comes to the legalized drugs concept? Because I'm more than happy to do that. But I was thinking, I don't have a whole lot of thoughts on the topic, but today is like the 10-year celebration of Occupy Wall Street. And I was kind of figuring yeah, we can move on. Perfect. All right. Figured I'd talk a little bit about Occupy Wall Street and what that sort of meant for the country, in Canada, but also the U.S. obviously because that's where it happened. I will admit that my thoughts then were not anywhere near where they should have been. I looked at the Occupy movement and I kind of liked it, but I also drew a lot of parallels to my own experience. So I'm fuck off old, right? When the first Persian Gulf War happened, the invasion of Iraq by the Americans, I was like 17 or 18, something like that, and I remember there was a protest that was planned by students, and I thought the whole thing was really fucking stupid, and it was based on the fact that no one gives a shit if the students of Sir Winston Churchill High School in Calgary, Alberta, Canada are upset that America went to war. No one gives a shit. And I just felt like, okay, well, what good is this going to do? It's not going to do anything. Even if Canada was opposed to it, it's not going to do anything, right? So I thought the whole thing was kind of silly. And I remember seeing on the news that night, like there's some kid dumping a thing of like oil that he bought at the Esso across the street on the ground. Like, we're fighting this. And I'm like, dude, that's not what you do with oil. That's bad. And I just kind of like, I just didn't sign in. I was not for the war, but I was not into the way that they were dealing with it. And then they marched to City Hall, and there were kids that stayed at City Hall camping out to protest the war for a bunch of days. And everything I knew about the kids that were involved and everything I knew about what was going on there was basically just a bunch of people going out, getting stoned, having sex, and just being teenagers. And I get that, but I'm not gonna be like, wow, you are changing the world, sir. So that's my tiny brain reaction to it. So that was wrong. Realistically, in retrospect, I look at it like I should have gone and protested because I think that was an unjust war, and it led to a lot of real problems in the world today. Yeah, they totally demonized those kids. That said, I knew some of those kids, and I knew what they were, their whole, like, they were not anti-war. They were just like, I'm having a lot of sex and drugs. This is fun. So there was definite demonization, but there was also some shreds of truth. And I can honestly say that I didn't feel like there was any real change the world stuff happening. I'm probably very wrong about that. Those kids were probably like a pre-Occupy kind of concept that was probably really important. And that's why I say I probably should have not been so quick to judge and not been so quick to turn my back on it. When Occupy happened, I was like, this feels the same. And again, with demonization, they were talking about like, oh, these kids, they don't clap. They do this thing with their hands because they're, they don't want to offend anybody who can't hear or whatever. And like all of this shit got promoted. But despite that, there was still this huge respect that grew inside me, like the Grinch's heart. Because I got that what they were talking about was legitimate. And I didn't understand at first what they were talking about because the media did such a good job of like whitewashing their whole thing and just making it sound like a bunch of smelly hippie kids who just don't want to go to school anymore. When that was the furthest thing from the truth. But I think it's really interesting, particularly now, to look at it in context. So I'm going to bring up their original 99% declaration because I think it's actually really fucking interesting. Where am I here? Go to the browser view. Okay, so I'm going to ignore the first part because it's sort of silly legalese type stuff. and how they came to create this document. When we get to like number one, and I want to talk about this in terms of sort of the current state of how we're dealing with the world around us and what kind of things the left are protesting and stuff like that. As a you want to get mad at the anti-vaxxers protesting hospitals and nurses with me for a minute? Fuck yes, I do. Let's do that as soon as I'm done sort of going over the high level points here, just because I think this is interesting. So remember, this was just dumb kids who were too stupid to be smart. That was the way that the media told the story. So point number one, elimination of the corporate state. And, come on, what's the corporate state? Well, if you read this, what they're talking about is the fact that the American political system of Republican democracy and marriage of the American system of democracy and the economic system of capitalism has resulted in the establishment in a corporate government of, by, and for the benefit of domestic and multinational corporations. Therefore, the 99% of the American people demand an immediate ban on all direct and indirect private contributions of anything of value to all politicians. This is still a huge thing, the whole super PAC concept. The idea that corporations are people and they should be allowed to, send money to the richies. Fuck that. That is a gross and horrible thing. We, the 99% of the American people, categorically reject the concept that corporations are persons and that money is equivalent to free speech. Because if that were so, then only the wealthiest people, corporations, and entities possessing concentrated wealth would have a meaningful voice in our society. So that is, again, still very much a true statement and very much a valuable thing for us to consider. Pardon me. Again, allergy season. Overturning the Citizens United case. The immediate abrogation, even if it requires a constitutional amendment, of the outrageous and anti-democratic Supreme Court holding in Citizens United versus Federal Election Commission and its progeny. This heinous decision, proclaimed in 2010, equates the direct and indirect payment of money to politicians by political action committees, corporations, wealthy individuals, and unions with the exercise of protecting free speech. That ain't free speech, and we want that to be fixed. Personally, I think the idea of corporations getting personhood is just ridiculous. I think the idea of corporations not being held accountable for their actions proves that, you can't send a corporation to jail for murder. So, therefore, they're not people. Elimination of all private benefits to public servants. Now you go, wait a minute, private benefits of public servants. What this is talking about is the prohibition includes an end to the corrupt revolving door in and out of our government. Elected and unelected public officials and their immediate families shall be banned from ever being employed by any corporation, lobbying firm, individual, or business that the public official specifically regulated while in office. Again, that makes sense. Why is that even a thing that we would do? If you're the head of the EPA and you used to be the head of ExxonMobil, then you're in the wrong job because you are not impartial. You are biased on the behalf of the wrong party. Term limits. So this is about maintaining term limits for the president, but in implementing term limits for the House of Representatives and members of the Senate. Totally agree with that. A fair tax code, a complete reformation and simplification of the United States tax code to require all individuals and corporations to pay a fair share of progressive graduated income tax by eliminating loopholes, unfair tax breaks, exemptions, and unfair deductions, subsidies, and others, and ending all other methods of evading income taxes. Again, this is what we're talking about right now. How does Biden plan on paying for the infrastructure bill? Well, gosh darn it, he's going to make sure that we can go after the big guys. That will not happen because people who are elected, because of the fact that this is a corporate government that is the marriage of the democratic system and the capitalist system, the rich people don't want this change to happen, so it ain't going to fucking happen. It's like when politicians talk about changing away to proportional representation or representation by percentage of the popular vote. That won't happen because politicians know that they win by chicanery. Healthcare for all. That's not currently a conversation starter. Protection of the planet. Human greed, exponentially magnified by corporations, patterned with corrupt governments, is destroying the only habitable planet known to humanity. Turns out this isn't new. And we're still having the same argument. And it's still not being won, and we're still fucking up. Debt reduction. I'm less worried about debt reduction, but I get why this was a thing. So basically adopting a plan to reduce the national debt to a sustainable percentage of GDP by 2020, reduction of the $15 trillion national debt to be achieved by both fair progressives, where did I go? So by both fair progressive taxation and cuts in spending that benefit corporations engaged in perpetual war for profit, insufficient healthcare, pharmaceutical exploitation, blah, 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 blah. So yeah, I'm not opposed to the idea of debt reduction. I'm not for it per se, in the sense that debt is garbage and fake and not real and stupid, and that's a thing. Oh hey, I am Canadian. I see. I'm late. Here's a number that you will never hear from Kenny or Hinshaw. 30-90%. That is the percentage active of COVID cases have increased in Alberta since the day of the Calgary Stampede ended. 3,090%. When the Stampede closed, we had 586 active cases. We now have 18,706 causes. Cruel wave. And even more important to remember, McKnight West Coastland, applying to Merlin of Canada and Calgary Stampede. Some people may not be aware, but according to former Deputy Premier Thomas Lacazuk, the Calgary Stampede is the biggest fundraiser of the year for conservatives. Kenny and O'Toole needed it for the money. They did it for the money. Yeah, fuck yeah, they did. They also did it because they're hogging. Right? The hogs didn't want to spend any more time inside, so they were like, yeah, we're fine. We'll open up. Stampede will be great. Vaccine will help us. And I feel like they took a real big gamble, and I feel like it did not pay off. So yeah, fuck Kenny, fuck the UCP, fuck conservatives, fuck conservative assholes who care only about money. Conservative fundraising causes deaths, fuck them. Okay, hi, I'm Canadian. It's good to see you, buddy. And I see I missed a comment up here from Sugar. I'm just going to scroll up a second. I like the municipal system here. They can't write off any money spent on campaigns, and they have to claim it. They aren't charities. Totally agree. I think it's just really, really horrendous when. What am I trying to say? I think it's really horrendous when the people in power are easily corruptible, and that's what campaign finance is all about. Campaign finance is about finance. Fuck, I can't even talk. Is about offering a path to corruption, and that sucks. That's completely stupid. So we're almost done with the points from the 99 Declaration. Again, this is the declaration that came about from Occupy Wall Street. Jobs for all Americans. Passage of a comprehensive Jobs and Job Training Act, like the American Jobs Act, to employ our citizens in jobs that are available with specialized training. The American people must be put to work now by repairing America's crumbling infrastructure and building other needed public works projects. In conjunction with the new Jobs Retraining Act, reinstitution of the Work Progress Administration, Civilian Conservation Corps, and similar emergency governmental agencies tasked with creating new projects to provide jobs to the 48 million people living in poverty, the 8.6% unemployed, and 16.2% who are underemployed. Student loan and debt relief and refinancing. I think that one goes without saying. Ending the perpetual war for profit. Recalling all military personnel at all non-essential bases, including but not limited to Cold War-era deployments in Europe, South Korea, Japan, Australia, and Cuba, and refocusing national defense goals to address threats posed by the geopolitics of the 21st century. Congress shall pass new regulations to reinvigorate the War Powers Resolution to limit the deployment of military forces to those instances where congressional approval has been granted. New laws must be enacted to counter the military-industrial complex's mission of perpetual war for profit. Emergency reform of public education. Ending outsourcing and currency manipulation, banking and securities reform, immediate reenactment of the Glass-Steagall Act, and increased regulation of Wall Street firms, Department of Further demand an immediate investigation by the Justice Department of the potential criminal practices of the security and banking industry that led to the collapse of markets, foreclosure crisis, bank bailout, and firm failures in 2007-2008. As discussed in Grievance 10, to facilitate the aforementioned student loan debt relief, banks and securities firms shall pay a financial transaction fee, also known as the Robin Hood tax, on each and every stock trade and other financial transactions without passing the costs on to consumers. And then we have a foreclosure moratorium. We have ending the Fed, the immediate formation of a nonpartisan commission overseen by Congress to audit and investigate the short-term and long-term economic risks in eliminating the privately owned Federal Reserve Bank and transferring all its functions to the United States Treasury Department. It is widely believed that the housing bubble and collapse of financial markets in 2007-2008 was proximately caused by the mismanagement, incompetence, and blind eye of the Federal Reserve Bank. Ending the Electoral College and enactment of uniform federal election rules, ending the war in Afghanistan and care for veterans. I'm assuming they don't mean ending care for veterans. No censorship of the internet. Reinstitution of civil rights, including the repeal of the NDAA. This is talking about the Patriot Act of 2001, more recently portions of the National Defense Authorization Act, wherein the government may or may not require for indefinite detention of U.S. citizens suspected of planning or assisting belligerent acts against the United States. And yeah, so what I found interesting, I was thinking about, obviously, Occupy Wall Street today because it is the 10-year anniversary. And I was like, looking at those points going, this is what we're doing right now. These are the same conversations we're having right now. And at the time, they were laughable. Medicare for all? Fuck off. Who's going to ever support that besides Bernie crazy commie Sanders? But now this is like the discourse. Ending the war in Afghanistan. Ending war for profits. Putting the brakes on the Fed. It's actually really, really... Oh, sorry for coming in hot. You're good. I am Canadian. I get it. Kenny's a piece of shit and he makes us all want to get angry sometimes. But yeah, like all of this, none of these things are new. All of these things are important. And I just thought it was really interesting, and we should sort of, do a hat tip to those dirty, stupid hippies who knew nothing about anything and were just dumb and stupid, who created the Occupy Wall Street movement and who actually were I think the first to effectively vocalize the frustration that we were all feeling regarding all of these topics and provide tangible solutions that we need to address in order to get out of the hole we're digging. Because that hole is called America's gonna have a fucking problem, and Canada's right along with it. My phone's getting hot. I'll be back in a few. Well, I'm on it. How could it not be hot, baby? Oi. That was not funny at all. I am definitely not what you might classically call hot. You know what? I think it's probably time for me to jump outside again because there's a longer conversation I want to have that Sugar was talking about. When Sugar gets back from dipping their phone in salt water or something, whatever it is that you do when your phone gets hot. I wouldn't know. I'm just super cool all the time. But we were going to talk about and make fun of, I think, the people who are protesting masks. What was the? Let me scroll up again and see what the exact comment was, so I know what I'm talking about. You want to get mad at the anti-vaxxers protesting hospitals and nurses with me for a minute? So yes, I do. I'm going to take a quick break, and I will be back. Before I jump away on break, I will once again bring up the humiliation ticker and remind everybody that I'm probably just going to give you the good and the bad. That's just, I don't need your money. I need your love. So free good karaoke today will be Beer by Real Big Fish, and bad karaoke, if I get $10 or if I just decide to fucking do it, will be Faith by George Michael. I do have a new email address for money transfers. It's bigjimyammers@gmail.com. Again, never feel the need to give me money. I do all right. And then, so having said that, I'm going to go take a quick break. And then, as Sugar suggested, we will mock the people who deserve mockery because they show up at places like hospitals and protest against healthcare workers, because that's what monsters do. All right, I should play some music while I'm gone. Fuck it. Not gonna play any music. I'm just gonna mute, and I'll be back in a few minutes. Why would I want to unmute my mic? That's just silly talk. Or maybe get rid of the message over my face. That might be a thing. There we go. All right. I'm going to pop open that link that you sent. I am Canadian. And we'll have a giggle over this. Sugar, are you back? Hey, Alberta, would you like $335 million to help essential workers? Hell no. Maybe $55 million to buy hotels to house the vulnerable during COVID. We'll pass. How about $52 million to make long-term care facilities safer? Absolutely not. Isn't it awful the way that Ottawa never does anything to help Albertans? Albertans have received $1,200 more in COVID aid per person from Ottawa than any other province, while Alberta does the least to help its own. Alberta leads the country in refusing federal COVID aid for its citizens. And that is true and is deeply frustrating. I don't see Sugar back yet. So we will make fun of people. I wanted to bitch about these fucking... There was a thing recently, a bunch of first responders were protesting against vaccines and masks and, you know, being a good human being. And that fucking made me angry. And I saw one of the fire chiefs or the heads of the fire brigade, whatever the fuck we call them here, was on the news and was like, you know, it's heartbreaking that people are behaving like this, and I think that, you know, we really need to do something to address this because, you know, people can't, you know, you just can't behave like this. You can't. It's wrong. Like, you know, you're first responders. And I'm like, fuck yeah, buddy. Like, why are your staff acting like this? This boggles my mind. If you're a fucking first responder, that means EMS, police, fire. I'm assuming there's other first responders, but those are the ones that come to mind. And you're opposed to vaccines, like maybe it's time to fuck off. And like you're obviously not motivated to look after people. So maybe you're in the wrong job. Maybe you should try, I don't know, farming or living alone and dying alone, a pathetic and miserable life. Those are just ideas. You're back. Okay, Sugar. You wanted to make fun of people who are protesting outside of hospitals, and I'm here for it. While I'm assuming that you probably have a link for me, I could be wrong. I will quickly once again mention the humiliations which are coming, and they will be awesome. So stick around for that as I humiliate myself for fun, apparently. Also, I will mention that my band is playing a gig on the 16th or the 14th. I'm not sure which. I don't think it's officially been announced yet, but it will be a fundraiser for the fine folks at the Bear Clan Patrol. There's two nurses who were fired. Two nurses who were fired for good reason. They started that shit. Yes, I heard about that. The group is like Nurses Against Vaccine Mandates or whatever, and they were like fired for being nurses who were anti-vax. And they're upset about the fact that they got fired. I get that. I totally do. It must suck to be like one of the worst people in history. Super understand it. But maybe you were fired because you're kind of genuinely terrible, and your job is to look after sick people. And if you don't want to do what's necessary to like protect them, that might be like a strike against you. I don't know, maybe. All the Albertan nurses hate them. Yeah, every nurse that I know personally, a lot of them are vaccine hesitant, and a lot of them are, they're kind of all over the map in terms of how they view this. But they all also understand at the end of the day that, they have a very, very important, scary, difficult, shitty job right now, and everything they can do to protect themselves and others, they're doing. Nurses are burnt out and these idiots are making their jobs harder. The minute that I heard that people were protesting at hospitals and like degrading hospital staff, like fuck you right in the mouth, you piece of shit. I cannot imagine what kind of a fucking dog-eating sack of crap you have to be to do that. Like, of all the people on Earth, the people who are most actively trying to keep us alive and who are bearing the absolute fucking brunt of this are doctors, nurses, and their supporting staff. And to show up and be like, this isn't even a real disease, 99.7% recovery rate. I don't believe these numbers that say millions of people have died worldwide. I don't believe them because they don't fit the narrative that I read about on a Facebook group. Sent me a pic in Messenger. Let's take a look. One sec. Oh, hey, I have a message in Messenger. It's from Sugar. Hi, Sugar. Oh, I like that. We're gonna pop over and show this image because I like that a lot. It says, "Go intubate yourself." Yeah, like I'm not a fan of the whole thing where, you know, people are asking the question of, like, you know, if you are a hog and you chose not to get vaccinated, should we, like, let you die or make you pay for your health care? And, you know, like, there's a variety of takes on it. All of them, I think, are bad. And I base that strictly on it is that slippery slope, right? So if you say, well, you didn't get vaccinated and you got COVID, so you deserve to die. Likewise, I am a smoker. I could have quit smoking, and, you know, if I develop emphysema or lung cancer or any other of the many systemic problems that are associated with my being a smoker, I should not have to have that be a thing on the public dime. I should just have to suffer and die. Obese people, you know, why should we pay for you to have important healthcare stuff? No, we shouldn't, but we should never let them forget their idiocy. Totally agree. And when it comes down to when we're doing the triage and we're saying there's a guy here who has a need for brain cancer treatment and another, you know, and we need the bed, and there's one other person and they've got COVID and it, like, you know, it's bad. I feel like, you know, that's where we can make those calls, and I think very comfortably make the comfortably is the wrong word. I'm sure it's never a comfortable decision to triage like that, but you spends your money, you takes your chances. Likewise, if there was a huge, like, mass of huge public health things, let's just say we had an Ebola outbreak, for example, and I wound up getting lung cancer, and I needed to go in for my chemotherapy, and there was no space for that. It was either Jim gets chemotherapy or someone gets life-saving Ebola treatment. I was more complicit in what I did, so okay, you know, in a triaging situation, that has to factor in. Yeah, I find these people to be just monstrous. They're the same people who are like, you know, welfare should be able to, you know, drug test it. Fuck that. Again, like we talked earlier, I'm all for drug legalization, but the idea that, like, people on welfare should live, like, pristine lives because that makes us feel better about the fact that they're getting something for nothing, when, you know, they're clearly living high on the hog with those sweet welfare checks. It's such a real bullshit perspective. And when it boils down to is people who are on welfare are going through a lot of shit. And we talked about how drugs and alcohol tend to be coping mechanisms when you're going through a lot of shit. And they may not be the healthiest, but we all do that. When rich people have a bad day, they have a $6,000 bottle of vintage whiskey made with the blood of Jesus or whatever, and they drink that, and it's perfectly okay because they're rich and they can do that. When poor people smoke a joint, well, they should be fucking thrown out onto the street and killed. They can let me do triage. I'll pull a lever without a conscience. I feel like I'd be really good in that role. I know it would totally warp and destroy my humanity, but I do feel like, you know, there's a scene in some movie, shit, I can't even think of it. It was a Nicolas Cage movie. It was one of those weird Nicolas Cage movies. He plays an ambulance driver, and it's really bizarre. If anyone in chat remembers the name of the movie, please, you know, feel free. But there's this woman, and she's a nurse, and, like, that, you know, the intake nurse, and there's some dude who's, like, overdosing in front of her, and she's like, so, you did drugs again. We've talked about this. why should I save you? And like every time they go by this one door, she's having the same conversation with somebody, and I'm like, that's fucking like I'm not okay with the idea of regular everyday doctors just withholding care. But in a triage situation, yeah, I'll fucking pull that job. I'll take it and be like, this sucks, but I'm doing it. And this person is garbage. And like if some of these fucking people that love to go out and march and have their little anti-mask parades and wear their Jewish stars, because again, that's not gross. Yeah, it's like, sorry, you don't get medical health. If we had a bed, fine, I'll put up with you. But if we don't, you're the last one on the list, buddy. I like her already. Yes, I can't. I keep wanting to say it's Gone in 60 Seconds, but I guarantee you that's the wrong movie, and stuff. Yeah, I can't think of it for the life of me, unfortunately. You know, one of the things. Oh, this all kind of ties in. I want to do a thing. We're gonna do a thing. We'll do two things. First thing, because this is up on my screen, we're gonna watch have a giggle. So, as preface for this, so the Americans and the Australians and the British signed an agreement, and it was about sharing nuclear submarine information with Australia and a new nuclear pact, and China's very upset about it. And Biden fucked up. He couldn't remember homeboy's name from Australia, not that I know it. You can see the fuck up, and all the right wing hogs are like cognitive decline, which is hilarious because they seem to have real problems when we said the same thing about Trump. The truth is, you don't want your leaders to have cognitive decline. Maybe stop electing people who are in their 70s. Just that might be a thing. But yeah, let's just watch. This is Australia's Today show, and it's worth a giggle.
Welcome back. First, a major breaking news this morning of a significant new alliance unveiled between Australia, the US and the UK.
God, I love how Australians talk. I know that's just stupid, but I love it.
The new defence pact will see Australia secure a nuclear capability for the first time, with a fleet of nuclear-powered submarines to be built in Adelaide. Here was Prime Minister Scott Morrison speaking with his colleagues virtually just a short time ago.
A partnership where our technology, our scientists, our industry, our defence forces are all working together to deliver a safer and more secure region that ultimately benefits all.
Meantime, US President Joe Biden appeared to forget Scott Morrison's name. Have a look.
I want to thank that fellow down under. Thank you very much, pal. Appreciate it, Mr. Prime Minister.
Pal. Like, I find it hilarious. I find it even more hilarious that people are like yikesing about it and being like, oh my God, like he's in cognitive decline, because like I go to bars, I meet people at gigs, and there's a lot of times where I can't fucking remember for the life of me somebody's name, and I'm always like, hey pal, it's good to see you, buddy-o, because that's what you do. It was better when I was dating Karina. She had this innate knowledge of when I didn't know a person's name, and she'd like interject and be like, hey, sorry, my asshole boyfriend forgot to introduce me, I'm Karina. And they'd be like, oh yeah, he's such a dick, I'm Darren. I'm like, I was just about to say that, guy. Totally just outed myself to a lot of people, I'm sure, but no one's watching, so we're cool. But yeah, like, I get it. And Biden being, turns around and he doesn't have a teleprompter in front of him, and it's just like, I just want to thank buddy from down there place, dude. Like, that's just human. When Trump is doing the Trump things, I do see a clear difference. I do think that Biden's not doing well. I think that's an important thing for me to get out there. I don't think he's at the top of his game. And I think that, cognitive decline is probably a genuine concern. We went through Reagan, and I don't know if that was cognitive decline or if it was like that Saturday Night Live sketch where like, his Nancy, and then they close the door. He's like, okay, so we're gonna go to war against the Russians again, and here's what we're gonna like. I don't know if it's that, if that was true, but like cognitive decline is a thing that happens in some older people. You think they drug their presidents? There's a book. It's actually by Chuck Palahniuk, the guy that wrote Fight Club. Survivor. I think it was his first big book. I really enjoyed it when I read it a long time ago, back when I was like a little Chuck Palahniuk stan. And it's a guy who is essentially a guy who's like the last surviving member of a suicide cult. You got to go. Take care. I'm Canadian. Always a pleasure, my friend. And the whole thing about this character is he becomes like a cult guru, and it's just people who are like propping him up and feeding him full of pills and just like shut up and say these things. Like none of it mattered. It was so brutally honest of the state of celebrity and of the self-help industry and stuff. It was a really, really interesting book. And yeah, I get that vibe, especially like Trump always seemed like he was stoned. And that Biden doesn't appear to me to be stoned, but he does appear to be like not at the top of his game. And I feel like, you know, the American law is, I think it's 35 you have to be to run for president. But everyone, like, you never vote for, like JFK was young for a president. How old was JFK when he was elected? Hang on, let me just check that because I don't know the answer. How old was JFK when he took office? 43. So 43 is still like remarkably young from a presidential perspective. But yeah, that's the thing. People, we tend to see anyone who's under like 50 as just being a kid who's not ready for the responsibilities of the job. And then, you know, as of the time they're like 50.1, they're like, oh, you're too old, you're decrepit, you're falling apart, you can't do this job. So there's like a sweet spot of like 3 months where you can be an effective leader, I guess. I don't know. It just seems really downright foolish. The other thing that I wanted to do, and then we'll get to the super fun weekly humiliation stuff. We might chat a little bit more. I still got some time. I'm going to a birthday party today, and it's a very special birthday party because it's Betty's birthday, and Betty is Karina's pit bull, who is 15. Today's not necessarily Betty's birthday. She's a rescue, so we don't know. She's a pit bull shepherd. But this is the day we're celebrating. So Karina has arranged for like a bone-shaped meat cake and all this stuff and a little birthday hat. So I'm very excited about going and having Betty's birthday. But I do still have a bunch of time. Put a 30-year-old as president. That would be interesting. That would be illegal because 35 is the number. But yeah, like I firmly believe that as much as I get why people are like, yeah, but you just don't have the life experience when you're 35 or whatever, you know, I get that. But I also feel like you've got the wrong life experience when you're 70. Like, you know, Trump was not someone that I'm like, that man should run a country. That man shouldn't run a porta potty, let alone all the businesses he's failed at. Biden, you know, I look at Biden and I'm like, dude, your time has passed. You should not be there. I love Bernie Sanders, and I would have been very happy if Bernie Sanders had won, but he's not the guy that should be running that country either. You know, when John McCain was a presidential threat, people were, you know, talking about his age and like, oh, you know, what if he dies? Because that would mean President Palin, and that's just a fucking, you know, cold sweat in the night kind of a vibe. Racist egomaniacs. Yeah, it's pretty much, they're all kind of like that. I made a joke the other day. I was on a stream that Riverboat Jack was doing, and she was talking about, not I was on the stream, I was just chatting. She was talking about the Canadian election, and she's like, yeah, didn't Prime Minister Trudeau, like, isn't he like the first prime minister to like wear blackface? And I was like, probably not the first to get caught. Because let's face it, the elected leaders are always like the shittiest humans in any country. So maybe we could fix that problem too. I don't know. In earlier today, the conversation I was having with the person who was door knocking, she was like, "So have you thought about who you're going to vote for?" And I was like, "Yes, I have." And I'm going to be voting for Ms. North Pagan because super progressive voice. Love that. 100% support. And then we were talking about the mayor, and I was like, probably going to end up going with Jody Garrywall because the most progressive voice, but like, come the fuck on. Yeah, like the most progressive voice in this regard is like not that progressive, but compared to like, really, we're gonna wind up with Mayor Farkas, and Farkas is like a straight up 56er. He is going to be nothing but slurping at the ball sack of industry at the expense of all of us regular folk. And the only option is, what do I think of Jody? I think that she's like progressive. I'm gonna end up voting for her because she's the most likely progressive voice to be able to draw any support. But I watched her interview with Taylor and was it Stacey? I can't remember, but Inclusive Canada did an interview with her, and things like they talked about defund the police, and she's like, "Oh no. If anything, we need more money for the police." I'm like, "No, we fucking don't. We need more money for other things. The money that goes to the police should be going elsewhere to be better spent." That's basic economics. They always talk about every dollar you spend on this thing is like $6 of value to the to the province. Every dollar you spend on fucking cops is thrown away. I'm paraphrasing, and I'm probably doing it badly. She did not come across as like supportive of anything that was really progressive. She came across as the most progressive candidate we have. But I mean, even like let's just pop over to Jody's website. I'm sure we can find it pretty quickly. Let's just go Jody. Oh, contact. I keep saying Garrywall. Fuck, I'm terrible. I am genuinely bad. I don't know why too, because it's not like there's only one last name for brown people. First thing, talk about economic insecurity. That always is a concern. Where's the priorities? We'll go to priorities here. Read Jody's policies. This is the key here. So key issues. Connect with us on social media. So social resilience. Calgary must become a socially resilient city by meaningful action to address social disparities within our communities. I don't disagree. When we click on learn more, what do we see? Fucking open. City of Calgary stands at a crossroads. The COVID-19 pandemic has laid bare wide-ranging economic and social injustices. As a community, we must decide how we will respond to equity in the municipal budget, evolving a progressive police force, advancing truth and reconciliation, restoring transit service, and supporting harm reduction in our communities. In 2020, over a third of eligible Albertans workers who earned more than $5,000 in 2019 received CERB benefits, slightly over the national average. However, there are stories of tens of thousands of struggling families beneath those aggregated statistics, families who likely faced precarious financial situations even before the pandemic. Those families who had worked hard for independence and financial sustainability have been pushed into the crisis. Hate incidents have become more and more common across our country, rendering racialized Canadians, and members of religious minorities increasingly unsafe. Women in Calgary have been disproportionately impacted by the pandemic. In the shadow of COVID-19, the ongoing crisis of opioid overdoses, issues of accessibility for people with disabilities. We must take meaningful action to address these and other disparities within our communities. Must be innovative and not shy away. That all sounds really awesome. Must become a resilient city by taking bold action that reduces GHG emissions and adapts to our changing climate. And there's only so much that she can do as mayor on any of this, right? But I agree with that statement. Bringing downtown to life, housing and homelessness, build the Green Line, a fair deal for Calgary. This is where the conservative shines, right? A fair deal for Calgary. The UCP government, like every provincial government that preceded it, collects more taxes from Calgarians than it returns in the form of grants or returned investment. On average, almost $800 million is collected by the city every year and then sent to the province with the hope that some of it will be returned in grants. In 2019, Calgary only received about $650 million back from the province. City of Calgary collects property taxes on behalf of the city and the province of Alberta. The amounts of money remitted to the province were not inconsequential, almost $800 million. The exact same problem the province of Alberta faces with its relationship to the government of Canada. Alberta pays more than it gets in return, just as Calgary pays more than it gets in return for Alberta. So particularly challenging when considering the infrastructure in Calgary, who's paying their fair share, becomes more acute as important public service serving economic stimulus projects like the Green Line are contemplated. It's also important that we consider the closure of public amenities. Fair Deal Panel. So Government of Alberta received a report from the Fair Deal Panel, a panel of Albertans trusted with looking at issues that have emerged between the Government of Canada and the Government of Alberta. The Fair Deal for Alberta's first two recommendations are press strenuously for the removal of current constraints on the fiscal stabilization program that prevents Albertans from receiving a $2.4 billion equalization rebate. Proceed with a proposed referendum on equalization, asking a clear question along the lines. So we're talking about the question of, should we be paying equalization payments? How does equalization work? And do you support the removal of Section 36, the principle of equalization, from the Constitution Act? Clearly, this equalization question is almost exactly the same as the issue of property tax collected by the city and remitted to the province. The UCP, like every other provincial government, blah, 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 blah. Given that the government of Alberta is planning to follow the recommendations listed above and have a referendum on the value of equalization in the nation of Canada, a parallel question should be adopted to discuss the equalization and distribution of revenues across the province. When you consider that 1% of taxes retained equals $8 million of reinvestment in the city, imagine the improved quality. So there was more that I saw when last we came down here, but essentially, like, Jody comes across to me as very, and it's Jody Gondek, comes across to me as very neoliberal, and the priorities are all good. You know, like you talk about recovery, you talk about resilience, housing and homelessness, building the Green Line, all things that I'm not opposed to. I support the idea of the Green Line because it's imperative that we have viable alternatives from a mass transit perspective for people that live here to avoid the strain that we put on it with people driving into work. The idea of questioning equalization payments, I don't like that. I like equalization payments. I think that the concept of sharing the success of, because that's what equalization payments were all about. Alberta was doing fucking great, and the rest of the country was not. And let's share the wealth. I think that's a good thing. As an Albertan, I think that's a good thing. And if there comes a time where Alberta is not doing well and other provinces are, that should be there for us. It's a way for us to look after the good of the nation. I would say the world is probably an even better plan, but you go as big as you can. And so this is kind of a snotty action of like, well, if you're going to question this federally, then I guess you have to question it provincially too. Property tax is the dumbest thing on earth because we suck so bad at it. When we talk about housing and homelessness, everybody seems to think that the answer is building some more stuff. We have a giant amount of stuff that we can utilize and put people in that would be better than just like throwing money at building new shitty ghetto style public housing. That's silly. And that's not what I'm saying that Jody wants to do, but everything about when I looked through her platform earlier, everything about it was like progressive, but let's talk about responsible spending. And I'm like, let's not talk about responsible spending. Let's talk about finding ways to better run our programs so that, cut a bunch of money out of police salaries and put it in the things that go ahead of time to circumvent the need for that extra policing, which we used to have, and Ralph Klein completely fucked. You know, this is the shit that drives me nuts. And the impression I got from Jody Gondek's campaign was that it was like, yep, we're stuck here. Might as well just like make the best of it. And honestly, that fair deal shit just kind of rubs me the wrong way too. So realistically, probably the best of a bunch of bad options. I will probably wind up voting for Jody Gondek. Not with any real desire to do so, but with like, this is a time for strategic voting as a mayoralty race goes, because there's a lot of hogs, and Farkas is a serious threat to the health and welfare of everybody. So I feel like, you know, either you vote smart or you basically are giving it to Farkas, and he's a concern. Like my friend Carolyn was running, she was going to run for alderman, and some guy made some snarky comment, and she, you know, well, I disagree with you kind of thing. He's like, you know what? I tell you what, when Farkas is mayor, he's gonna know who you are. ... And like, what the fuck, homeboy? Like, what are you talking about? First off, is Farkas gonna beat her up? But second, like, is that really like, this is the kind of people that are voting for him? I don't want to be around them. That sounds not fucking cool. Anyways, yeah, we've got the federal election coming up. I will be voting NDP, mostly out of the desire to vote my conscience in that case. I think it's highly unlikely that I will in any way enact any kind of change, because my member of parliament is a conservative, and it has been for fucking ever, and is a worthless conservative. Just a total douche of a backbench garbage, sitting around do nothing kind of guy. But my hope is that we'll wind up with a coalition government between Liberals and NDPs, hopefully with more strength on the NDP side than the current coalition government that we have, and or minority government, more accurately. My hope is that I'd love to see the NDP as prime minister. I don't see that happening, and that's not the end of my rainbow. I think of the current candidates, Jagmeet Singh is the balls out best option, but not the country I want to eventually get to. Right? I'm not pretending like, oh yeah, he's great, he'll do everything wonderful, and it'll be all good. Yeah. Anyways, that's local politics with Big Ugly Jim. All right, since I opened a beer, it's probably time for the song Beer. That was a terrible segue, wasn't it? I know it. I'm okay with it. But yes, it is time for me to do my weekly humiliations. And why don't I see my karaoke window? Where the fuck did it go? Did I close it? No, it's right there. All right. So let me just... Oh, now it appears. And I have to quickly resize some stuff. Why is my mouse suddenly fucking gone? God damn it, OBS. Get your shit together. Okay. Oh, maybe this is my computer. I don't know. Maybe if I like go somewhere and do something. Why the fuck don't I have a mouse? I want a mouse. Yeah, my mouse is gone. Okay, well, we're not gonna change the size of things then. We'll just go with what we got. I'm gonna try and cut now. I can't see anything with it. I don't have a mouse. There, fade. Cool, that worked. I don't know what the hell's going on, but we're gonna do some karaoke. I hope I don't suck at this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, that's too high. She called me late last night, say she loved me so. Didn't matter anymore. I say she never cared and that she never will. Do it all again, I guess I'll have to wait until then. And if I get drunk, well, I'll pass out on the floor now, baby. You won't bother me no more. Ooh, that's rough. And if you're drinking, then you know that you're my friend. And I say, I think I'll have myself a beer. Oh, it's terrible. She called me late last night to say she loved me so. But I guess you changed her mind. Well, I should have known it wouldn't be alright. Fuck. But I can't live without her, so I won't even try. And if I get drunk, well, I'll pass out on the floor now, baby. You won't bother me no more. And if you're drinking, well, you know that you're my friend. And I say, I think I'll have myself a beer. I hope you get pulled over right now, Sugar Ray, and that this is what the cops hear. Because also, fuck cops. If you're in a space where you can skank, skank away. Maybe someday I'll think of what to say. Maybe next time I'll remember what to do. She looks like heaven, maybe this is hell. She said she'd do it all again, she promised not to tell. And if I get drunk, well, I'll pass out on the floor now, baby. You won't bother me no more. She said, it's okay, boy, 'cause you know we'll be good friends. And I say, I think I'll have myself a beer. I think I'll have myself a This is so not in my range. This should have been the bad song. Yeah. I can't do this at all. Holy shit. Alright. Nailed that. Nailed it. I'm pretty sure after Real Big Fish watch this video, I'll be in the band as the singer. Even though they already have one. Alright. We're going to do the bad one too. Maybe this will be better. Maybe it'll be worse. Oh, that organ. I love it when they work the organ like that. Just work that organ. Lather it up into a frenzy of music. A nice, beautiful organ. In my holes. My ear holes. Oh, let's see if this is probably too high. Well, I guess it would be nice if I could touch your body. I know not everybody has got a body like you, but I gotta think twice before I give my heart away. And I know all the games you play because I play them too. Oh, but I need some time off from that emotion. Time to pick my heart up off the floor. Oh, when that love comes down with our devotion. Well, it takes a strong man, baby, but I'm showing you the door. 'Cause I gotta have faith. I gotta have faith. Because I gotta have faith, faith. I gotta have faith, faith. Baby, I know you're asking me to say. You say, please, please, please don't go away. You say I'm giving you the blues. Maybe, you mean every word you say. Can't help but think of yesterday and another who tied me down to 11 boy rules before this river becomes an ocean. Before you throw my heart back on the floor. Oh, baby, I reconsider my foolish notion. Well, I need someone to hold me, but I'll wait for something more. Yes, I gotta have faith. I gotta have faith. Because I gotta have faith, faith, faith. I gotta have faith, faith, faith. Do, 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 do. I just have to wait because I gotta have faith. I gotta have faith. I got to have faith before this river becomes an ocean. Before you throw my heart back on the floor. Oh, baby, I reconsider my foolish notion. Well, I need someone to hold me, but I'll wait for something more. Cause I gotta have, faith. Fuck. I gotta have faith. Cause I gotta have faith, faith, faith. I gotta have faith, faith, faith. Okay, that was cheesy. That was cheesy and terrible. What is the other? Oh, you know what? I'm gonna do another song because I got some time, and I'm gonna do another song. It's a free bonus. This is I was thinking about doing this, and then I came up with other stuff, so we'll do it anyways. This is REM Stand. This is like high school for me. Ugh. Stand in the place where you live now, face. Think about direction, wonder why you haven't now. Stand in the place where you work. Think about the place where you live, wonder why you haven't. If you are confused, check with the sun. Carry a compass to help you along. Your feet are going to be on the ground. Your head is there to move you around. So stand in the place where you live. Now think about direction, wonder why you haven't now. Stand in the place where you work. Well, think about the place where you live, wonder why you haven't. Feet are going to be on the ground. Your head is there to move you around. If wishes were trees, the trees would be falling. Listen to reason, season is calling. Stand, place where you live. Think about direction, wonder why you haven't now. Stand in the place where you work. Well, think about the place where you live, wonder why you haven't before. I cough, I have to sing, and I've got phlegm. So good. So good. Wish I had myself a beer. If wishes were trees, the trees would be falling. Listen to reason, reason is calling. Your feet are going to be on the ground. Your head is there to move you around. So stand. Think about direction, wonder why you haven't now. Stand. Well, think about the place where you live, wonder why you haven't. Stand in the place where you live. Now think about direction, wonder why you haven't now. Stand in the place where you work. Now think about the place where you live, wonder why you haven't. Stand in the place where you work. Fuck. Stand in the place where you are. Your feet are going to be on the ground. Your head is there to move you around. So stand. Okay, that was passably all right. All right. So that was that. Where's my fucking... I have a mouse again now. That's good. I'm glad I have a mouse. Mice are good. All right. Well, that was a bunch of fun. Yat? Yat. That's probably some hip slang kid talk that I don't understand. To those that are watching and those that did watch, thank you very much. I hope you had a good time. I had a good time right up until I sang that beer song, and that was not in my range at all. I don't know. I sing along in the radio. Seems to work fine. But lesson learned, if I'm going to karaoke, not in the repertoire. And with Faith, I sang it an octave low because I just knew it was going to be bad. All right, I'm going to call it a night, or a day, or whatever the fuck it is outside. It's been a while. I have no idea. I'm going to go to a 15-year-old dog's birthday party, which is, it's not 130 or 105 in dog years. It's more like 90 because apparently you have to factor in size. I didn't know this. I only know it now because I was like, 105th birthday. And Karina was like, ugh, no. And then brought up a webpage that I should have automatically known was in existence. Anyways, gonna go hang out with a puppy and tell her how much we love her. And she's 15, so, you know, that's probably a good message for puppies to have when they're 15. And, yeah, we'll call it there. Thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed and are watching and have never followed me before, probably a good time to hit that follow button or whatever the fuck you want to do. Subscribe, share lucrative riches, send me your women, whatever. Stay true to yourself.